Hello, everybody. Good evening and welcome to Inner Space One Play, and a very warm welcome to all of our online viewers. It's this evening's themes. Any guess? Anybody knows? Very interesting theme. Friendship, yes. Friendship of Symphony of Friendship. Yeah, very nice topic. And for that, we have our guest speaker Rajesh Patel with us. Rajesh is an engineer by education and IT consultant by trade, but meditation student at all time. He has been studying and sharing teaching of Brahma Kumaris for the past 35 years, using logic and simplicity to convey deep and ancient natural secret acquired by practice, and more practice. Also, he's a big part of his journey has been and continue to be exploring of practical aspect of the art of balancing a spiritual life with the material needs of a material world. So, not taking much of your time, and then it's over to Rajesh. Thank you.
Okay. Can you hear me clearly? Okay with the sound? Yeah. Okay. So that was a brief introduction, and I always like to get to know my audience as well. So, have all of you been to events here before? Yeah. Okay. You kind of like got the basics of what we teach here in terms of Raja Yoga meditation. Yes. So the concept of soul is something that you're familiar with. Okay. Um, yeah. So soul is not something that's new to you. Yes. So one of the things that it took me a long time to kind of really get in touch with and to really connect with is the concept that I am soul. Now it seems really simple because that's our first lesson, but we are so used to this idea that I'm doing this, I do that, I go here, and this I that we think of when I say I is not really the soul. So the I that is mostly in our consciousness is what I call the human doing, because I'm always thinking about what I need to do. So even if I'm sitting in meditation, unless I've gone deep into that meditation experience, there are thoughts coming into the mind which are related to action. And so there's always something that's happening in your consciousness that's pulling you into doing something. When I say we are, or I am, soul, what I'm really wanting you to connect with is the concept of being. And the awakening that I had was after spending a huge amount of time in silence. So we used to have a group of people that we all had this aim to go deep into silence. And so we used to do a week where pretty much nothing else was happening. We were just in silence. And at one point, I had this sudden, complete, dead, silent experience. The closest I can relate to is who listens to the radio, okay, or maybe the television is in the background, and so it's in the background. You're not actually following or watching, let's say, TV or really listening to the radio. You're working on something else, and so you're doing whatever it is you're doing. The radio is playing in the background, and somebody comes in and then turn it off. And because you're doing what you were doing, you haven't really registered what's happening. And then suddenly your conscious, or your subconscious rather, says, something's missing. And then you realize, there's a extra dimension of silence because the radio's been turned off. But until it was turned off, it was just playing constantly in the background. And when somebody turned it off, and then you register that's turned off, there's an awareness of this amazing dead silence. That's the consciousness of the being, the human being. And that's what soul consciousness is. So today, when we explore this idea of friendship and connection with our greatest friend, I want to start off with that. So we start with this. I got the right slide. Bottom, right? Okay. So what I would like you to do is to see if we can connect to the being, okay? The soul. And we talk about the soul as being seated here, just at the center of the forehead, the seat of consciousness. It's a space where if you're really tense and you kind of like do this, you really massage that bit, and then you feel that's the seat of the soul. And so I'd like you to just really go deep into that experience and to help you imagine that you're going to join me up on the mountain. And this is a real picture. For those of you who've been fortunate to visit our headquarters in India, it's an amazing vista where you're up on the mountain and you're just looking over this plain. And one of the favorite things we do is to go there at sunset. You've got this sun that's just sinking in the horizon. So take that into your mind. Take a deep breath. And just imagine, maybe it might even help you if you close your eyes, and just imagine you're on this mountain, this breeze is coming. Just breathe in deeply. As you breathe in, imagine the rays of the dying sun just warming you up gently. And you've got this deep orange, red twilight that fills your vision. And you feel that warmth, embrace of that dying sun. Just sitting there breathing. And take a deep breath in. And as you breathe in, and you hold your breath at the end, just before you let the breath out, there is a slight pause. So at the end of the in-breath, just before the breath goes out, there's a pause. And in that pause, that moment, perfect stillness, is that silence, the gap where I, the soul, but that's the space, that's the consciousness, that's the connection that I want you to hold as we go through these. And so I'm going to start with understanding what I would like us to explore terms of friendship. For me, the deepest connection, the deepest friendship is that with the Supreme. And so every time I go into that space, what I'm connecting to is the Supreme Being or God. So why is that such a deep experience? For me, if you think about the relationships that we have, somebody once said to me, a good friend will always help you when you're in trouble. No matter what the problem is, they'll help you out. But the best friend is if you need to bury a dead body, no questions asked, they'll just turn up and help you to get rid of that body. So that's obviously just an extreme example, but what it illustrates is that that depth of friendship is one that is built on trust, where that other person doesn't need to ask you what happened, what's going on. All they're doing is, what help do you need and how can I help? So if you've got a friendship like that, then you're blessed. So we have friends, we have family, and then we have family friends. So for me, the family friends are the best ones because you don't get to choose your family, but you always get to choose your friends. And so if you combine both of those, then that is like a double blessing. And so for me, my connection to God transcends all these other friendships because it allows me to be myself, to have a feeling that I am worthy. So if we don't have that experience, I don't feel worthy, then the connections, the friendships that I have are ended. In other words, it's give and take. If my friend comes to my birthday, I feel great. If they don't come to my birthday, I'm like, oh my God, why did that person not come? And there's all of these questions that suddenly come. So in a true connection, we always want to have an experience that is based on trust. So we're going to go through each of these step by step. And so we'll explore the concepts of friendship. And so this is what I was alluding to in that deep connection. We look at what the power of purity and the clarity that brings into our connections. What is an authentic connection? That's something that I'll go into. And then finally, once we're in that space where we have self-worth, self-respect, and we feel empowered, then what do we do? So for me, the highest state of being, and there's something that somebody called Maslow came up with called the hierarchy of needs. That's something that I like to talk about often. In that hierarchy of needs, the most fundamental need that people have is what? Love. Okay, but before you can experience love, what do you need? I'm assuming you guys have to work and pay your bills. If you weren't able to pay your bills, what happens? You need a roof over your head. Yeah. So the first need, the most fundamental basic need is food and shelter. If we don't have those, then we can't aspire to then move on to doing the next level. So if we have food and shelter and I am satisfied, so I'm not hungry, no matter how much somebody gives me food, even if it's my favorite, I'm not going to be tempted. On the other hand, if I'm really, really, really hungry and somebody just gives me a stale piece of toast, I'll still go for it because that meets my most fundamental need. In the world today, we know that there are many people who are not getting those fundamental needs met. And so once I get that first fundamental need met, then I can move on. And what I look for then is connection. So in my connection, I want to be acknowledged. If people don't acknowledge me, if people literally don't see me, then I feel hurt. Because very often we depend on others giving us validation. So if today somebody doesn't say hello, and normally they say hello, then I feel something is missing. If somebody doesn't smile at me when I smile at them, again, I feel something is diminished. So all of those things go in a hierarchy. And so for those of you who were fortunate to meet my mentor, Dadi Janki, she had reached a level where her presence was enough to empower you. I can remember many times, I had some problem or the other, and I'd be sitting because she's always got people waiting to have a word with her. But just being in her presence or vicinity, because she had a room, people waiting outside, and by the time it's my turn to have a chat with her, the problem had just disappeared. I couldn't even remember what it was that was troubling me, and that's not just my experience. It's something that as you ascend into becoming truly connected, truly at one with yourself and with the Supreme, then all these mundane things can like just disappear. Think about it again. If you are not hungry and if you're not striving to pay your bills, you've got food, you've got shelter, and you've got extra, what is your level of comfort? Versus when there's something that's troubling you and you know you need to do something and you can't afford to pay your bills. How does that weigh you down, right? So these are degrees of awareness. So we're going to get to the highest level by the end of this session. Okay. So going back to the beginning, I'm in that space, in that gap of silence, and I'm feeling deeply grateful. And I have gratitude in my heart. Not only am I feeling blessed, but what happens when I'm in that state? What happens when you are in a state you're really happy? Something's happened, you've succeeded in something, and you're just bursting with happiness. What do you want to do? Thank God, yes. But everybody who comes in front of you, what happens? You want to share that, right? But you don't necessarily need to even say anything. Just the fact that you're happy gives off this amazing energy. So was it yesterday or the day before? England as a nation, right? Celebrated what? Football, right? The women's Euros. And, I'm a sports fan in general, but that feeling when they won was just amazing, right? And I remember being, when I was in the States, in a city called Tampa, and they have a American football team. And I think for the first time in many, many decades, maybe even in the first time in their history, they won the Super Bowl. And believe me, the energy in the town had rocketed up. And I, as I said, am a sports fan. And the game wasn't played in Tampa, but I went, and I wasn't far from the stadium, so I got my car and drove there. And as I got close to the stadium, the energy just kept going up. So this is very real. When we are feeling happiness, when we are feeling light, when we're feeling energized, that energy just goes out and it radiates. And so this is, again, the highest level degree of friendship that we aspire to. And we don't really need to think that this is something that's beyond us, right? So how do I know it's in my grasp? Is it something that I need to spend many, I don't know, months, decades in the jungle before I can find it? Do I need to practice this meditation for long, long weeks and months and years? You know, how do I find this? How do I connect with this energy? For me, it's very, very simple. I use the word Baba, just as my friend. And it's just those two words, and that's it. It's as simple as that. And so for you, whatever words, whatever energy you connect with, that's all you need to do. You don't need to think of anything sort of super amazing. It's just, that's me. Make sense? It's just very, very basic. If I have that experience of connecting to people, and I have had the experience of the highest level, then I just need something to say, yeah, that's it. Not complicated, right? And when we connect with that energy, with that thought, with that feeling, with that expression, there is in your heart almost like a song. So I call it the song of the heart, a buzz, right? So for those of you who've had a buzz from alcohol, right? You know that feeling when you buzzed. You're feeling very mellow, you're feeling light, you're feeling happy, and the world is great. Everything's wonderful. No matter who comes in front of you, you feel great. You want them to be happy because you're happy. There's something in your heart that just sings with that lightness, with that love, with that friendship, because in that state, not only are you feeling connected, but everybody's your friend. Why? Going back to our earliest statement, when we are in that space, when that we are connected to the highest energy, we want to share. That is built into the core DNA of the soul. The soul, and this is where the soul and God are one with each other. So when people in spiritual terms talk about oneness, this is the highest state of being, oneness. Then you also want to give. So God, the difference between us and God always is giving. Yes? No matter which faith you follow, every faith has that experience, the understanding, that teaching that God is the giver, the one who fulfills, the one who is always overflowing with goodness, with love, with light. He's always giving. So that is the natural, intrinsic DNA of the state of the soul at its highest frequency. When I am operating at my highest performance level, that is my natural state. That's why when we're really happy, we want to share with everybody because we want them to experience that. And guess what? Just like when the England football team was celebrating across the country, if one person is happy, the other person is happy, what happens? That vibration multiplies. So there is a ramping and escalation, a multiplication of that happiness as more and more people experience that wave. Which is why when people go to these mass gatherings like a rave, they're all kind of vibrating and connecting at that frequency. And because they're usually listening to one song, there's also the physical harmonics and vibration of the song. And that's why everybody's kind of like on that wave. So we have many examples in the physical world where people create artificially this wave, this rave, this vibration, because it just is a deep, deep part of our being, and we connect with it. So even if we don't really understand what's happening, like I said, with alcohol and with drugs, people experience that high, but obviously that is limited, and that artificial high always has not only a low, but the low can often be worse than the high. So the highs may be great, maybe even very good, but when the low hits you, and then you try to get back to that high, it's never the same. The first hit, that high, you can never achieve when you're doing it artificially. And so you take more because you think it'll make it better, but hey, it doesn't work, right? So as a kid, I used to love candy and, spend my pocket money on getting a bag of sweets. I look forward to that. As an adult, I can buy all the sweets I want, but you recognize that it will only give you satisfaction to a certain amount. No matter how good it is, the first bite or two will give you the most happiness. And after that, it's a diminishing return, right? So the material world, it's a law of diminishing returns. In the spiritual world, that vibration, that harmonic, keeps on going up and up and up. So that is the song of the heart. Because God is eternal and we, I the soul, am also eternal. When we're in that experience, we kind of like just go off, and it's just like smooth sailing, never ending. So if I've experienced that ever in my life, then and only then can I want that experience again. The reason why we search so hard for what we call true love and that deep friendship is because we know what it is. I cannot desire or want something that is not already within me. Does that make sense? So those of you who've enjoyed a mango, if you like a mango, if I say, yeah, it's going to be mango season soon, or maybe I've missed it, you know what that feeling is. You know the taste, you know the enjoyment that you get from eating the mango. Now, if you've never even heard of it, and I say to you, would you like, I don't know, a dragon fruit? Okay, that's just a word. There's no energy, no meaning, no connection. Okay, because it may be not part of your culture, maybe not part of the world that you grew up in. And so if you've never had a dragon fruit, you're not going to wake up suddenly and say, oh, I'd really like to have a dragon fruit. So the deepest, most innate qualities of the soul, that need for love, friendship, peace, all of those things are things that we already know and have already experienced at the highest level. That's why when we get a limited version of it, or when we get a temporary amount of it, we're not happy. We're not satisfied. Maybe for a little bit, but we know there's something out there that's greater, that's more permanent, and so we go looking for it. So that is the eternal friendship. That experience, once you're in that energy, once you have that connection, it just naturally vibrates and connects you with whoever you are. So you can enjoy that connection with everybody, because you then are bringing that energy and they then experience it. And so now you're connecting at that level. You ever watch very young children at play? Especially children who don't even speak the same language. When they're speaking, they have a language, but two different cultures, two different languages. Do they find it difficult to connect and to play? For those of you who have young kids, you know that children have no problem enjoying and connecting with other children, and they don't need words, they don't need much, and they can really have a great time. They don't need to be taught how to do that because it's innate. And that's the lesson that we've got. So understanding the highest levels of friendship is what enables us to reconnect with everybody, experience that same degree of connection. So when I am in that space, I'm radiating that energy. It just flows out of me. And so this is the bond that we want to create. And to create that, I need to be able to let go all impurity. What do I mean by that? Okay, a bit of electronics. So I did my studies as an electronic engineer, and hopefully most of you are familiar with the concept of resistance. Okay, what is resistance? Something that's pushing back. Okay, so in terms of energy flow, you get the greatest transfer of energy when the resistance is the lowest. Impurity is what we accumulate that creates resistance. And that resistance, when it builds up over time, is something we're not even aware of. And so when I want to try and connect with people, or actually worse, when other people are trying to connect with me, and I'm not aware of the resistance I have accumulated because I have suffered, I've been let down time and again. And I said, in the pursuit of these temporary and artificial forms of satisfaction, of friendship, of love, of connection, I've been hurt again and again and again. And so I build up a wall, I create a shield. I want to protect myself. And so this is the resistance that we create within. And so if I have that resistance, that's the impurity that I'm talking about. And so to remove that resistance, that impurity, allows us then to, as I say, experience the maximum transfer of happiness, of joy, of light. Again, it's not something that is foreign, not something that's unnatural. We've always had it. Going back to young children, even before they're taught language and they go to school, even as a baby, that baby just is giving happiness. Unless the baby is crying because it hasn't been fed, or because it needs changing, or because it didn't get enough sleep, or temporary things, then you just look at it and it makes you smile, right? A newborn child innately gives you that energy of love, of connection, and it brings a smile. It makes you light. Why? Why? What is the power that that newborn baby has? What did it learn? Did it acquire some wisdom? No. It is literally being itself, not trying to pretend to be this or that or the other, not wanting to please you with giving you this or that. It just wants to connect. It just wants you to experience what it's experiencing, which is this lightness and love and happiness. Because that is our original, eternal, natural self. So a newborn is born innocent. In other words, it doesn't have any resistance. For those of you who have excellent memories, can you remember when, as a child, your innocence was shattered? There's one defining experience, a moment when suddenly you transition from an innocent child into suddenly a being of this world. Anybody know what I'm talking about? Yes? So for me, it was when I used to play with the local African children. I was in Africa, and the people I was playing with, they were very poor. They literally lived in a hut on the side of the road. As a child, do you care? No, they're friends. You can play with them. There's nothing limiting you in interacting, connecting, having a friendship, and really enjoying it. Because the child does not see rich and poor, black or white, nothing. It's just, this is another being I connect with, I'm happy, I'm enjoying, right? And it was my friend's mom who said to me, no, you can't play with him. I can't remember the exact specific incidents, but the mom basically pointed out that you come from a different world. You don't belong to this world. So that was, as I say, the clear defining moment that I could still connect with when my innocence was shattered. And I was like, oh, before that, I didn't, there was no concept that this person is in a different world to me or that they're black and I'm not, none of these things. So these resistances are things that we acquire. It is not who and what we are. So young children, again, lead us and show us the truth. Don't forget, each and every one of us are still that innocent baby, that young child, because we are eternal. And that is the true nature of the self and the soul. So when somebody is trying to create negativity in terms of thoughts that, why is he doing that? Or somebody's shouting at me saying, why didn't you do that? Or you did this wrong. Why, what, when? And somebody's basically beating you up. Then guess what? If you're told enough times you're no good, what happens? Yeah, you accept it. Because if people tell you again and again, especially when it's coming from an adult and as a child, whether it's your teacher, the parents, or somebody elderly is telling you, oh, don't do this, don't do that, or you're bad if you do this, then suddenly you acquire this resistances and you are not even aware of it. And not only does that happen, but you get messed up. What was natural and normal, the innocent self who just knew instinctively what the truth is and what true real relationships are, is suddenly obscured, it's twisted, it's corrupted, and you don't know what's up and down, what's left and right, you know. And right now, in the world's media, it's always conflict, always chaos. This person against that person, this country against that. It's just never ending. It's almost like an agenda to create, spread, and disseminate chaos and negativity. And so, as people who are following a spiritual path, as people who want to do better because we want to be better, because we still know in our hearts, deep within, who and what we really are, never forget we are swimming against the tide. So we're literally in a situation where it's a tide, a flow of negativity every single day. If we're not aware, if we're not connected to this highest self, we'll get dragged along, swept away in the flood of that negativity. And not only that, but then anything that we've gained in terms of enlightenment becomes dark again. But when I know who I am, I let go of all of these questions. I know intrinsically what it means to be peaceful, to be calm, to be clear. When I connect with the Supreme, with the highest source, everything else falls into place. And so we don't need to spend hours, weeks, months, years going into that silence. We just need that moment of clarity that happens in that silence. When I go into that silence, the connection of I am peace, I am soul, I am being comes back. And the more I do that, the bigger that energy that becomes, because that resistance, that negativity, the impurity goes away. The challenge is, it's like being in a boat in the middle of the ocean and you got a hole in the boat. You're in an ocean of negativity, you've got a boat, so you're afloat, you're safe, but you got a hole. Every time there's a thought that's negative or you're influenced into a negative pattern, you've got a hole. There's leakage, so that negativity is coming into your boat. So when I say I'm a peaceful soul, and when you go into the meditation space, I'm getting a bucket, I'm picking up that negativity and emptying it out into the ocean. And you can imagine that if that's what I spend all my time doing, it's exhausting. But if I get to the source of the negativity, the pattern, then I can plug that hole. So in my life, if I observe, and I can only do that when I go into silence, that is the only place that I can be a neutral observer. Okay, anybody have difficulty with that concept? Just think about it. Your best friends, you can easily see where they're going wrong. And if you tell them this is what you're doing wrong, does it work? It's so obvious, right? Because you can see clearly what they need to do and where they're going wrong. But they can't accept it. And the same for us. When somebody tells me, I just can't see it. I can't accept it. And so this is where silence is so important. I need the silence to have that clarity. Only then can I be centered. So the more I practice going into silence, the more I center myself, the more real my true energy will feel. That's ultimately the way forward. If I can't do that, I cannot connect. If I can't connect, I'm not able to let go. So that resistance is kind of like the more you try and grab hold of it, the more it slips away. Like grasping at shadows. So the resistance is not something that you can pick up and drop. It's something that I need to accept, acknowledge, because it is within us, right? We will not, it's not like if I become a good person, if I start doing good things, that all the negative things that I'm aware of, that I've experienced, that I've done, they don't just disappear. They don't just walk away. They're there. And like a weed in a garden, those of you who've done any gardening, what happens if you don't weed? And you start keeping on giving, good fertilizer and water into your garden, what happens? They overgrow, the weeds will come back. And the weeds somehow seem to have just this innate power to come back and grow stronger, and not the plant that you're trying to cultivate. So negative thoughts are like those weeds. They're ever present. They'll never go away. But the more we focus on letting go of them and that energy, and focus on being righteous, being positive, and having that courage to be true to my real self. And that courage is the thing that differentiates what I'd call the heroes from the villains. Because we all have that capacity to do good and bad. But a hero is one who, despite knowing what's going to happen, will still face up. So soldiers in a war are often the ones that we look at as heroes because they know, and it's in the job, that they may die the next moment. But that does not stop them from doing their duty. Whilst the generals and the leaders are sitting safely behind walls and in their buildings and saying, yeah, we're going to do this, we're going to do that. And that's unfortunately the way of the world, right? So for those of you who looked into it, situation that's happening in the troubled parts of the world, the people who are in the thick of it are not the ones who made those decisions. They're suffering because decisions have been made by other people. And so if you're in that situation and you believe what you're being fed, that that person is my enemy, you've bought into that lie, that resistance, that negativity. If you just say, well, look at what God is telling you, we are all souls, we are all equal, we are all children of the same Father, then suddenly things have changed. There are many, many, many stories in the middle of the worst conflicts where people who are supposed to be enemies have come together, united by just acknowledging that that other person is also a human being, no different to who I am. And so that courage is all important. With that courage, we need humility. Because if I think, oh, I'm really great, I'm wonderful, then the trap of the ego is going to get you. And like a child, everything we do, once we walk away, it's forgotten. The next time I meet that person and interact with them, it's a whole new day. Children are very, very quick to forgive and forget. And that takes courage and it takes humility, because your ego will say, I didn't do anything wrong. Why should I be the one to bow down? Why should I apologize? It's that other person. They did the thing wrong. They hurt me and it wasn't my fault. And does it matter? Because in the grand scheme of things, would you rather be happy or right? And that's something that took me a long time, because there's something also within us about truth and justice. And when we feel that we're in the right, where we are on the path of truth and justice, very hard to see and accept injustice and say, that's okay, I forgive. But what you forgive is not what was done, because that was wrong, but you forgive the fact that you took some hurt because you allowed it to touch you in that way. And so you forgive that hurt. You say, okay, I'm going to let go. So you're not forgiving what was wrong, but you accept that, okay, I was hurt. I'm going to take the courage to let go of that pain and suffering and not hold it against whoever brought that hurt into my life. That's the art of forgiveness. And then I let go. Because guess what? In our lives, we've more than likely done the same to other people. And that also requires humility to say, you know what? I forgive myself. Unless you did it intentionally. That's a whole different story. So let's go into, once you've reached that state, you're now on this rolling vibration, and you feel that you can send that light, that love out. Then you become a messenger of God, an angel. And that's what we need in the world today. We need people to step up, to start spreading that light, that love, because the world is in darkness, and by connecting with the Supreme, by experiencing that highest connection of friendship, we can now bring that light into the world. That is who and what we're meant to be. Same as the young child, innocent baby, that newborn, spreading joy and happiness by being, does not need to do anything. And so again, the more I practice that, the more I bring that energy into my conscious being, my life, it just spreads. That energy just goes out. I don't need to be standing and waving slogans or marching, I just need to stand up and just send that good wishes and really see and experience the human connection, the human being. The more I connect with that, the stronger energy becomes. And so with Raj Yoga meditation, we have Third Sunday, where we all connect in the whole world for that 1 hour to bring that light into the world, bring that positive energy. And that's just once a month, but every single day. When we connect, when we meditate, we're bringing that energy. Not only are we creating a vibration of positive energy, but as you go deeper and deeper into the experience, your energy becomes like, has its own sort of being. And that being is what we call an angel. Just this, in the same way that I have a physical body, I also have an angelic body. Okay, so you know what thoughts are, right? Thoughts are not material, they're not physical, they're energetic, but they operate in a subtle way, in a subtle region. You know that it works because if you think about somebody that you're close to, and you say, oh, you know what, I need to connect with this person. The minute you reach out and you call them, what do they say? I was thinking of you, or I was just thinking of you, because that thought energy, that vibration goes out faster than the speed of light. There's no restrictions. And that energy is the angelic energy. And that being, when I'm meditating, when I'm connecting to that higher plane of consciousness, that angelic being is doing its work. There are many people who are performing in that space of being angels and spreading the truth. And so the more I connect and deepen that friendship with the Supreme, the more I can do good in my angelic form. Okay, where are we? So, anybody know what that symbol is? So, we've gone from here to infinity and beyond. Thank you all very much. If you have any questions, you can have a Q&A. Yeah.
Thank you, brother, for sharing such an insightful thoughts. Uh, I have a question regarding the peace. Like you said, sit in a peace and connect with God. How to do that? Where to focus? Because if you close your eyes, a lot of stuff comes up. One has less, someone has more. I'm on the higher side, so especially if I do in a center, it happens. But if I do at home, it's really really hard. So like, how would I connect to God? Where should I focus? On my breath, or maybe some music, or maybe some imagination which I need. So
Yeah, great question. And for me, when I first started on this journey, we had tapes back then. And on the tapes, we had audio commentaries, or guided meditations. And we still have those. There's some really excellent speakers, Sister Jayanti. So I'm sure we'll have it in the bookshop. But the guided meditation is literally somebody holding your hand and you walking with them on the path. So somebody who's experienced that connection, who has that in their DNA, so to speak, and in their consciousness, can take your hand and walk you down that path. So in the beginning, I literally could not meditate without the commentary. But as time goes by, just like any other guide, if they're following or taking you down a path, especially if it's a tape, it's the same path every day. So in the beginning, it's great because you kind of like learn to familiarize yourself with that path, that journey, and that experience. And the more you do it, the stronger and better that connection becomes. But there comes a point in time where you're like, you know what? I need to explore on my own. So I think for the first 6 months, I needed those guided meditation commentaries, and I needed to come to the center because that energy that I talked about is always stronger where there are people who are practicing that consciousness on a regular basis, which is why we have a gathering every morning. And so good company are coming to that, which is why if you go to a place of worship, it always has a powerful energy, because that energy of consciousness of lots of people worshiping has also raised that overall energy. So connecting the physical space where there is that energy, connecting using your mind and thoughts to go into a pattern which is producing positive results. So guided commentaries work. You might find music only, where it's no commentary or very few words, only music. The other thing that helps is to read. If you read something positive, it gives you that energy saying, that was really good. And that raises your consciousness. So reading positive things like affirmations, which are very short, using guided meditation commentary. So what you're looking for is somebody experienced who's leading you, showing you the way. And the more you trust that voice, the easier it becomes until you let, like a child and a parent, that child, once it's learned how to walk properly, just wants to run. It's not going to want you to hold it.
So shall we repeat same thing again and again?
There are different commentaries because we
There are a
get
lot
bored.
of nowadays, like on YouTube
Yeah,
apps,
there's
like you'll
lots of,
find it, you find millions.
But what you find is the more you have a discipline that's repeating, it will work easier. So set a time, fixed place. So if that's your meditation chair and corner, your mind, when you sit in that corner, knows that this is time to meditate, not anything else. So create that space in your home. It can be just a chair. So anytime that you sit in that special chair in a special time, then your mind will be more helpful because you've trained the mind. In the beginning, because the mind is not trained, as you say, you get lots of thoughts, and even just sitting down, your thoughts are all over the place. Again, if you're experienced with young children, you know what's the best way to get a child's attention. You say, I'm going to play with you, as in give you what you want, but right now, just for a few minutes, let me focus on this bit of work that I'm doing, and then I'll come and spend time with you. So any thoughts that are coming that are really demanding attention, acknowledge and accept, yes, I see you, I hear you, and I'll come back to you. And just give me a few minutes. I just need to do this little bit of work, and then I'll come back to you. That way you just accept, deflect, and then focus. And that's, again, a habit that you're building. And so the next time that child knows, if daddy's at work in his special chair, then, I need to keep away. And so these kind of patterns help a lot. Okay, so let's go into that connection that we started with and just let go of the resistance. So whatever thoughts are coming, just accept the thoughts and say, okay, I hear you, I see you, but let me just focus on this for a few minutes and then I'll come back. Take a deep breath. As you breathe in, feel that energy, feel that breath going deep inside. like the waves in the ocean. I breathe in and out. And with each breath, I let my mind and thoughts just sink with my breath. As these thoughts, like the waves, go in and out, my connection with my deepest, highest state of being, peace, grows stronger and stronger. I breathe the energy and the vibration of peace and silence. Just breathing in and out. And I radiate waves and waves, peace, light, of pure energy. And I just say to myself, Om Shanti. Om, I, the soul, Shanti, peace. Om Shanti. I am peace, light, love. Today, tomorrow, and always. I, the soul, a being, peace, light. Breathing deeply, gently, and mindfully. I connect and resonate my true being. I'm a being of light, an angel connected to God, creating and bringing light, love, and peace to this troubled world. Breath by breath, step by step. Om Shanti. I am peace, light, love, and happiness. Thank you, and enjoy the rest of your evening.
Thank you, Rajesh, for the wonderful talk and all the tools and tips given. Before we go, there is a few announcements. And next week talk, same time, same place, and the topic is reaction to reflection. We do have a new Raj Yoga meditation course starting up, which is in-house and starting from 4th of August. It's the in-house one. Timing is in the evening, 6 to 7:30. Whoever wish to join, welcome. Yes, that's correct. Yeah. Okay. We'll double check it because this is the information right now. I have it, but we'll double check if it's not happening, right? There is also fast track Raj Yoga meditation course starting up, which is online, and the timing for that is 6 to 7 in the morning. There is a two time. One is online only, and one is in-house. The timings are different. Please double check before you register or book in. Also, Sunday morning meditation, which is also online, 10 to 10:45, and our regular reflective meditation, which is house, every Mondays and Thursdays, 7 to 7:30. So everybody's welcome to join. Once again, thank you for joining us and have a safe journey.